So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and just here in Pickering, and I'm actually not sure the name of this park. I think it might be called Glen Ravine. It's kind of this little ravine that goes from Main Street out into Frenchman's Bay. And so just came down here to record maybe a little video and do a little talk and some meditation. So thought that first might be able to start off with a little bit of meditation. So we can try to get our body in position, just kind of lean forward a bit, straighten our back, and we can look about 3 feet in front of us and close our eyes. And can think thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings everywhere be happy and at ease. And we can learn to make our goodwill infinite. We can spread goodwill to our right hand side, to our left hand side, in front, behind, above, below, all around everywhere. May all beings all around and everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. Okay, and can open our eyes and do a short reflection on the Dhamma. Excuse me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So, hope that everybody is having a good day, wherever you might be. And today just was doing some exploring and had been down to this area a bunch of times, but I never really thought of coming down here to do a talk. It's actually there's actually kind of a pathway that goes just behind this, and then there's streets almost on either side. So, although it's very forested here, very close by, there's actually some streets. And so came down here and did some exploring, and ended up being kind of a nice place to be. Kind of some nice rocks. This was actually all the way back here. A couple years ago, they kind of tore out all the trees and did some fixing to make the stream, which is right there, flow a bit better. And so I used to come down here and do a bit of exploring and walk, and there was all these kind of old stones and kind of, got a sense of, these big old fallen trees, these kind of things. And so sometimes, our life is like this. Our practice of meditation is like this. When we do a bit of exploring, sometimes we find something new. Sometimes we find something interesting, even something that's right under our nose before that we've passed by many, many times. Actually, have passed by this bridge a lot of times, and sometimes have come down this part of the ravine, but have never, maybe for a while, have never crossed over the stream to this side to record a video. I find that it's very nice, even though this is actually very close to where I walk all the time. And it's sometimes similar with our practice of meditation. Sometimes we can be meditating all the time, and there might be some little potential, some little avenue to explore that always seemed like a kind of small thing before, always seemed like something that was no big deal. But then sometimes these things that are kind of right in front of us all the time, we take a step back and explore them. We decide to go down that avenue. We decide to pursue this new approach in our meditation, and we find that it brings some really good results. So we keep going. And this is one of the ways that we actually learn about how to overcome problems in our meditation practice, and we learn how to develop new skills in our meditation practice. Because actually meditation, there's a kind of point to it. There's skills that we can develop here in meditation. There's things that we can learn to do. And the main thing that the Buddha advises, one of the main things in meditation the Buddha advises us to learn how to do, is to try to make our minds settle down, to bring them to states of what they call concentration or jhana. Try to make our minds become peaceful and experience a kind of happiness, inner happiness inside. And so there's one teacher who really respect, and he would say, each time that the mind settled down, it settles down differently. So it's not the same mind that we bring to our meditation practice, and so because it's not the same mind, we didn't have the same day, we didn't have the same inputs, we weren't thinking the same thoughts. Our bodies aren't the same each day. Each day they're a little different, and so the way that we make our mind settle down each day can be a bit different. And the way in which it settles down each time can be a bit different. And so to gain a skill in trying to figure out how to make it settle down amidst these various conditions sometimes requires us to develop this kind of attitude of being a little bit of an explorer. So remember, I was talking to a fellow who actually lives not far from this ravine here, and we were talking about when we were kids, and we'd go down to places like this, and be flipping over rocks and running through the stream and doing all kinds of stuff, kind of exploring. That's what kids do. We see these kids kind of go out to do these things, and they're kind of exploring. They're playing. They're flipping over rocks, see what's under them. They're walking into new areas to see what they can find, and it's by doing this that they actually learn about cause and effect in the world. So it might be something evolutionary. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. But by learning how to play like this, learning how to check out our surroundings, learning how to find new potentials, that's how we can learn about cause and effect. And that's how we can learn how to develop skills in our meditation, skills in going forward, and hopefully skills in making our mind peaceful. Because a lot of the great kind of discoveries, in the world's history, even in the secular world, they were done by people who were kind of going into unknown territory, kind of uncharted territory a little bit. And in the same way, a lot of the time, if there's something that we're hoping for to get in our meditation practice, or we're striving for, or some kind of peace of mind that we're hoping to get just by meditating itself, and we don't have it yet, it usually means that that's like a goal that we have to go and explore for. It's a goal that we have to maybe do some adventuring to try to capture, So I know, if reading histories or, recall hearing about the early explorers in Canada or United States, they had to go into some pretty daunting and uncertain circumstances, maybe kind of propelled by a little bit of this love of adventure, and, had some skills for sure, but learning how to map these large areas that had never been mapped before, had to go into some unknown territory, taking the skills they had with them. And then when they went there, when they became familiar with the territory, that area that they'd navigated the area that they'd explored became easier for them to go back to after that, and became easier for all the other people they taught to go back to after that. And so in a similar way, the Buddha says, his teachings, he describes how he found Nibbana as being like somebody who'd come across an overgrown path to a capital city. And he goes up the path and he finds this ancient ruined capital city, and then he orders some men, okay, let's renovate this city. And then they renovate it and make it into another beautiful royal capital city again. In other words, it's kind of the Buddha did some exploring and then cleared the path so that that other people could follow after that. And in the same way, following in the Buddha's footsteps, we have his instructions with us. We have clear guidelines on what to do, but the specifics of that change for each individual person. Right? So we all have our own kind of balance of good and bad qualities. We all have different qualities. Some people might be more skilled in faith. Some people might be more skilled in concentration. Some people might be more skilled in discernment. And the question is, how do we use these qualities to get where we're trying to go? How do we base ourselves on these qualities to develop even more? So it's kind of like, maybe some explorers, going up the St. Lawrence, or going, going into this area when, before it was, fully mapped or anything like that. Maybe some of them would have different skills. Some might be quite good, trappers or something like that, be able to find food very easily. Others might be very good navigators, have really excellent skills with maps, be really good at knowing where they've gone and not getting lost. These kind of things. And based on these skills, each of them, with their teams or their parties, and the skills of the people in the teams of their parties, had to do their best to move forward, to try to find out what was out here, to try to forge maybe new trading links and kind of seek out new lands. And in the same way, when we go forward in the Buddhist path, we at least have his map laid out. But then each of us, each time we walking a path that somebody else has walked and following their instructions, it might not be the exact same. The path that the Buddha described is, what he described is correct, but each of us, when we walk it, it's a different path in a sense. It's like somebody writing a review on what, it's like to travel, up some hidden path in the Himalayas, on some lonely planet trail, going to some hidden path and coming out to some unique city. And then another person goes there a few years later, and the landscape around that path is a bit different for that person. The skills that they bring are a bit different. And so what they have to do to get up it is a bit different. What they have to do to get to the other side is a bit different. And so in the same way, each of us bring all these different qualities of mind to our practice. All of us have these different good and bad qualities. And so when we go forward, doing a little bit of adventuring, trying to find a new goal, trying to find peace in our mind, trying to find a peace that we haven't had before, then we use these skills. We use the good qualities that we have and think, how can we develop even more? How can we develop these other good qualities even more that we don't have? How can we move forward to get this kind of skill, to try to move up this river, to try to map this territory a bit better? And so the wonderful thing about the Buddha's instructions to us is that these kind of things are possible. There is a way to peace of mind. There is a way to happiness. There is a way to ease. There is a way to a permanent peace. And there's a map. There's a path that we can follow. There's a trail that we can go. And the nice thing is that as we traverse this trail more and more, as we put forth effort into it more and more, we become more familiar with the territory. Things that were once difficult for us to do become easier for us to do. And we gain a skill in the practice. We gain a skill in training our own minds. And this is a skill that carries over when we get off the cushion into our daily life and brings peace with us, so long as we keep trying to develop these qualities. But ultimately, when we keep practicing, when the practice becomes more and more central to our life, when renunciation becomes more and more central to our life, then we start to search for the actual end goal. We start to search along the path to try to find the end. This kind of ancient capital city that the Buddha renovated, to see it for ourselves, to try to see this unconditioned happiness for ourselves, to see Nibbana for ourselves. And so this is the potential that the Buddha talks about, and this is a potential we can realize by doing a bit of exploring, by following this kind of path, and by finding these new potentials in our mind and becoming skilled in their terrain. We can become people who are true heirs of the Buddha's teaching and who know directly what he was talking about.